Let's get started, shall we? As with almost all of my projects, I usually start with one component or part that I build around. This can be a new piece that I just found, or in this case, a piece of a broken Transformers toy that I've had floating around my bits box for well over a year now. Up until this week, I had never really considered using it in a project, and then I started to play around with it next to a few other bits and such, and I started to visualize the bot that it could become. All I needed to do was do a bit of modification, and we're on our way to making a new robot. On its own, I can't do much with it, so I'll start to combine it with other pieces to build up the shape of the main body. I want to temporarily hold things together while I do some test fitting, so I'll use some of my chewing gum to stick them together. This is a great way to test parts together and see if they'll fit and look right without the commitment of glue. The added bonus is that your model now smells like spearmint. Of course, that is a joke. I'm actually using blue tack, which is a reusable adhesive putty most commonly used to hold posters to walls. But it's great for crafting like this since it doesn't form a permanent bond and doesn't leave any sticky residue once it's removed. I want to cover up this open spot on the top of his head/body, and I think this blue plastic thing will work well. I believe it's a pen cap, but I'm actually not sure. I cut it down to fit, and then using more of that blue tack, I attach it while working on the rest of the body, including using these spray paint nozzles as the shoulders for the bot. I go through a fair amount of spray paint, and so I've got an ever-growing collection of these spray paint nozzles, and I've used them quite a few times in other videos. At this point, I like how it's looking and things seem to be fitting well, so I'm going to take away the blue tack and start to permanently attach the parts together with super glue as well as Milliput. Milliput is a 2-part epoxy putty that cures into this super durable resin-like substance in just a few hours. I usually let it cure fully overnight just to be sure, but a couple hours is usually good. And I'll use this to fill the gaps in between the plastic as well as giving me a bit more surface area to glue to. Now, you may have seen me use EP200 or EP400 in other videos, and that's also a 2-part epoxy putty, but that stuff cures solid in 20 minutes, while Milliput gives you at least an hour or two of working time. So I use the EP series when I need a fast cure so I can continue on my work, and Milliput when I need a longer working time for larger or more complex pieces. And I also try and work it out so when I use the Milliput on a project, it's at the end of a build day so it can fully cure overnight. As you can see, I've added a few more parts to the body, and now I just need to build something to cover up this open gap in the chest. I'll use this part here, and with a bit of cutting and shaping, I have 2 bits that I can temporarily attach to the body. I'll use more of that chewing gum, blue tack, to hold them in place and align them. Then I'll glue the 2 pieces together, but I'll keep it separate from the main body because I'll need to install the eyeball first and then this front plate second. So it stays separate for now, and I'll glue it in place after painting. Then I just add a few greeblies to cover up any holes and add some detail. Now that the main body is complete, let's move on to building some arms. This component is from a Halo action figure that I found, and it's going to be the upper arm. The elbow joint is made from this round plastic thing sandwiched between these 2 little plastic discs that are used to help kids learn to count. The lower half of the arm is made from the handle of this disposable razor. Now I wanted something that matched the flat profile of the upper arm, even though I ended up adding to the lower arm to make it more rounded in the end. I mark out how long I want the arm to be, and then I cut it out using my jeweler's saw. Once I temporarily attach it to the upper arm, I could see that it's a bit too thin, so I'll use parts of this drywall anchor to add a bit of bulk to the lower arm. I'll cut it in half long way, and then I'll cut it off here so I'm left with 2 half-cylinder shapes. The side I cut is a bit rough looking though, so I will sand it down to make it flow into the rest of the lower arm. Then I just have to glue them together. I add a small styrene cover to the top of the arm, and then I add this connection point to attach the arms to the main body. After drilling a few holes and adding some metal pins, I can start to assemble the arms together, and now all the arms need is a pair of matching hands. This is my go-to method for building hands from scratch nowadays. I start with a styrene rod, and I'll cut 3 1/4-inch sections from the end. Each section is rounded on the corners, and I'll add a point to the pointer end of the finger. Here they are, all cut out and ready to go, and then I just carefully glue each section end to end so I have a basic finger shape. Now I could stop right here, but the fingers are a bit delicate and not very detailed, so I'll use this sheet of styrene and my badge hole punch to cut out a few of these oval shapes. Each oval shape will then have the ends cut off with the same hole punch, so I have even smaller ovals. I add a small amount of superglue to the sides of the finger joints, and then using my wax-tipped rhinestone pen, I carefully attach the ovals to the side of each joint. Like I said before, not only does this add some strength, but it also adds some detail. I'll also add a few tiny sections of styrene to act as knuckles. I'll make 4 fingers per hand, 3 main fingers and 1 thumb. The only difference with the thumb is that it has 2 sections instead of 3. Then to try to make the hands look a bit more natural, for a robot, I make each finger more curved than the last. This makes the hand look like it's in more of a natural resting position. You'll see what I'm talking about more as I start to assemble the hand. For the base of the hand, the palm I guess, I'll be using this round gear-looking piece. It was around the right size for what I needed, and I could have also made this from scratch, but this worked out well. I drill some small holes in the palm as well as the back of each finger, and then I use some small 24 gauge wire to attach all the fingers in place. They also get super glued in place, but the wire just adds a bit of flexibility and strength to help the glue. You can see those curved fingers that I was talking about and how it helps to add a bit of realism. Then I just cover the back of the palm with this greebly and the front of it with this half of a bead. I attach it to the lower arm with another wire, and there we have it, a completed arm and hand. Now all I have to do is build a second one to match. I drill a hole in each side of the shoulder, and this is where I will attach the arms. The left arm is bent that way because eventually I'm going to give this guy a walking stick, and his arm needs to be bent that way to hold said walking stick. The upper body is now complete, and we can start to work on the legs. But I'm feeling kind of lazy, so I'm going to steal some legs from a previously dismantled action figure. I will make some small modifications, like cutting off the ball joint off the end and setting it aside for a later surprise. Then I will replace it with this blue plastic bit that comes from the end of a connector set toy piece. In order to keep this lazy theme going, I'm also going to use a pre-made foot. Now this is actually a resin cast of a single foot I got off of an old broken action figure. The figure was found with only 1 foot, but it looked like a nice foot and it seemed like something I could use more of, so I made a silicone mold of it and then used some fast curing resin to make copies. So you may see this resin foot come up again in future builds if it works out. It fits perfectly on the ankle and it's even slightly posable, which will help me later. Surprise! The ball joint's back and I've added it to a metal pin. Then I'll add this end of a bead, and this will make sort of the hip joint that will attach to the main body as a connection point for the legs. Once everything is glued and painted, I will be able to attach my legs to these and they'll be slightly posable, which is nice. At this point, all of the pieces are fully built and ready for painting. So I add a few paint stands to them so that I can attach them to my paint sticks, and I will send them outside for a coat of flat black and flat white primer. While those are drying, I can start to work on the base. I start with this wooden plaque from the craft store and a section of cheap foam core board. I remove the paper so it's just the foam core, and then using some foam safe superglue, I attach the foam to the wooden base. Once that's cured, I trim it to size with a sharp knife, and I can refine the shape with a sanding stick. Using a small torch in a well-ventilated area, I can add a bit of surface texture variation. For a first layer of sealant, I just add a bit of Mod Podge to cover everything up, and then for a second layer, I use a mix of brown paint, modeling paste, and Mod Podge to mix up this stippling mix, and I'll add at least 2 or 3 coats of this. Here it is after it's fully dry and a small amount of weathering. Now I can move on to adding some skippy static grass. This is sort of a custom mix of a few different colored static grasses, and I'll use more Mod Podge to stick everything down. Once I get a layer of Mod Podge into all the areas that I want static grass, I can start to apply my static grass with the static grass applicator. I let that dry fully, and the only other thing I do to it is dust it a bit with some black spray paint to darken the grass. Originally, I was going to build that walking stick that I mentioned earlier from scratch, but then I thought to myself, why don't I just go outside and find a stick on the ground? So that's exactly what I did. I'm going to keep the stick basically exactly how I found it. I'm just going to add a pin to the bottom and add a coat of clear coat to make sure that the bark doesn't fall off. We are now entering the painting process, and I'll be using this Eau de Nil airbrush paint, which is a lovely dusty green color whose name means water of the Nile in French. I've really been liking these dusty colors lately, and I've talked about it in my Easter egg robot build a few weeks ago, but these kind of muted colors remind me of vintage future tech. Like if you ask someone in the 1950s to draw a robot from the 2100s, they use this kind of color on it. Using the same green mixed with white and gray, I make a slightly lighter color that I'll dry brush over all the parts. It's a very subtle addition, but I think it makes the original color a bit more dusty and makes it so that the deeper corners are slightly darker than the faces, which adds some subtle depth. You can see here the dry brushing is on the right and the original is on the left. Once I apply all of the decals, I can set them in place with a matte clear coat, and then I can start working on the weathering. I'll be using a few drops from these two different colors and diluting it with water and a small amount of isopropyl alcohol. All the pieces get coated in this wash, and I dab away any excess or drips with a paper towel. Now I don't want to darken this original paint too much, so I'm going with a pretty light wash here. When the wash is dry, I can move on to the final step in weathering. For that, I'll be using this Tamiya Weathering Master Kit. I use a sponge brush and get a mix of this oily brown and rust color and start to apply it to the robot. I like to start with the edges and the raised sections and then work my way into the faces. And now that we're in the painting/weathering stage, I think it's a great time to give a shout out to all my patrons over on my Patreon. Thank you all so very much for your support. It really does help in buying materials, and especially paints and weathering like this that you're seeing right now. If you're interested in joining the Patreon, I'll have links at the end of this video on my page and in the description. If you join the core builders, you get a shout out in every video, as well as access to some behind the scenes photos that no one else gets to see. And if you'd like to support this video for free and very quickly, you can do so by liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, all of that fun stuff that helps the YouTube algorithm pick up these videos and share them with other people. I always like to ask my audience if they have any fun ideas for who this bot is. What's their story, their name, what they're doing in the world. In the past, you've all come up with some great ideas for these bots I've made, and I always love to read about the stories in the comments below. So if you have some ideas, please feel free to let me know down in the comment section. We're in the home stretch here, and I'm just adding a few small details with this chipping colors pen. This is a great little addition to my shop, and it's really sped up the chipping process. Now, really, the actual last thing I need to do is just to put everything back together. And I'm just dry fitting here, but eventually I will glue everything together. And with that, this project is pretty much finished. So let's see those final shots. Hey, thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this build. It was definitely a fun one for me. I really like the arms and the paint color on this, and I think the weathering turned out really great. I also like the mix of the tech with the just natural walking stick. I think that's kind of a cool combination. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, put them down in the comment section. I do read every single comment, and I try to respond if I can. Thanks again for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video.